morning, world. We're live. Water World Crisis Channel. Water scarcity involves water stress, water shortage or deficit, and water crisis. The concept of water stress is relatively new. Water stress is the difficulty of obtaining sources of fresh water for use because of depleting resources. A water crisis is a situation where the available potable and polluted water within a region is less than that region's demand. There are many other countries of the world that are severely impacted with regard to human health and inadequate drinking water. The following is a partial list of some of the countries with significant population. Numerical population of affected population listed, whose only consumption is of contaminated water. Sudan 12.3 million, Venezuela 5.0 million, Ethiopia 2.7 million, Tunisia 2.1 million, Cuba 1.3 million. Effects on climate. Aquifer drawdown or overdrafting in the pumping of fossil water increases the total amount of water within the hydrosphere subject to transportation and evaporation processes, thereby causing accretion in water vapor and cloud cover, the primary absorbers of infrared radiation in the Earth's atmosphere. Adding water to the system has a forcing effect on the whole system. An accurate estimate of which hydrogeological fact is yet to be quantified. We're covering live in Melbourne, Australia. Vince!
Australia is to be considered the dirtiest continent on Earth. It has one major river system. The Murray-Darling River provides water for 4 states before reaching the Great Ocean. The river is a source of agriculture in the place. The problem the Australian people face is the frequent droughts and irrigation overuse that cause the Murray River to vanish or dry up. As a result, ruining the agriculture, thus killing the source of income of people. In most cases, people depend on the rain to prolong the drought they're having. Australia has no water policy, although their issue is being tackled and action is taking place. At the end of the day, without the farmers' help setting up a irrigation infrastructure, the water in the Murray River system would be polluted. Back to you, Iser.
Thank you, Vince. We're covering live in Beijing, China. Joe?
The Pacific region is facing a water crisis. There is also a problem in water security that came about through a research done by the ADB and the Asia Pacific Water Forum, also known as APWF, entitled Asian Water Development Outlook 2013. According to the study, 37 out of 49 countries in the Asia-Pacific region are experiencing serious water crisis. The study pointed out that the rising population, urbanization, lack of governmental investment, and outdated policies and institutions, among other factors, are failing to provide communities with proper sanitation services and access to safe piped water. ADB Vice President for Knowledge Management and Sustainable Development, Bin Duluhani, states that he finds it alarming that such water insecurity exists in the region despite it being home to some of the fastest growing and most technologically advanced economies in the world. ADB's External Relations Officer, Sylvia Inchong, says that even strong economies like Japan, Singapore, and South Korea have failed to reach a water-secure stage. Only Australia and New Zealand are considered to have effective systems for water resource management. The indicators that were considered from the study are household, economic, urban, and environmental water security, as well as resilience to water-related disasters.
Thank you, Joe. We're covering live in Latin America, particularly in Brazil. How's it going there, Jessica?
Latin America is really rich in water. Most of the countries has a lot of water, except of Peru, that has sufficient but not so much as the others. The most rich is Guyana. The big problems in the water of Latin America is because most of the rivers are polluted, and then they use the water for multiple utilities, like for agriculture and for energy. So that's the problem. But Latin America has most of the rivers in the world, like the Amazon River and the La Plata River, and has the Guarani Aquifer that gives water for a lot of countries in Latin America.
Thank you, Jessica. So we're going to South Africa. What's happening there, Priya?
Interestingly enough, South Africa boasts one of the most clean water systems in the world. However, due to the lack of sanitation and access in the country's rural communities, the threat of waterborne diseases is steadily increasing. Overall, infrastructure is lacking, whether or not it is old pipes or the ignorance that South Africa water crisis is here and affecting millions. There has been a backlog in services since the end of apartheid, and that needs to change. And so, the national and the local government of South Africa needs to do a better job of offering services to their people. Supplies need to be given to the most in need, and by taking care of the rural population, the government will be helping the cities, because it is these rural communities where the damage to the water supply is beginning to lack of access to sanitation supplies and clean water education. Back to you, Isaac.
Thank you, Priya. So we're about to go to North America, particularly in Vancouver, Canada. What's good there, Ika?
In a book written by Glandon entitled Unquenchable, America's Water Crisis and What to Do About It, it is stated that deep in the Mojave Desert sits Las Vegas. In Sin City, a torrent water flows there in massive fountains, private lagoons, and wave machines. Meanwhile, across the country in places that are not particularly dry or hot, communities, farmers, and factories are struggling to find water and even running out altogether. Moreover, because water is so abundant, it is also quite inexpensive. This and other factors have meant that water consumption in North America is extremely high. Canadians, for example, use twice as much water per capita as do Europeans. North America has a much higher quality of water than most other areas of the world. The largest quality problems are in the rural areas of the US and here in Canada, where millions do not have sufficient amount of water. Back to you, Isaac.
So we're going to grab some news live in Europe, specifically in Italy. How are you there, Olas?
Waters are under threat due to increasing pressures from farming, transport, and other industries, as well as climate change. Due to this, water shortages could seriously disadvantage Europe's economy. Italy is already facing a water crisis, as the amount of water currently available to farmers may be halved during 2005. Some 30% of Italians do not have a regular sufficient water supply in their homes, and 20% use water that fails to meet the World Health Organization's quality guidelines. Flooding will become more frequent all over Europe, Northern Europe, and will run a higher risk of drought in the summer. Southern Europe faces the risk of more droughts in all seasons.
This is the end of our segment. This has been your one and only Nice and Naughty, Isaac Silva. Goodbye.
Water is a necessity in our everyday lives, so we must all unite and do things so that we can preserve and sustain our water supply. The water crisis here that we are experiencing worldwide is a very serious matter. So, along with doing simple cleanup drives, or just simply conserving water, or doing the 3 R's, reuse, reduce, and recycle, we can help in cleaning our water and sustain our water supply.
Will affect crops that can be grown and the availability of water for coastland tourists, resorts, and golf courses. It can also lead to worse quality of drinking water, and lower water levels in rivers and waterways will also affect electricity generation by hydropower and impede navigation.
Water wars will kill agriculture, making the population be dependent on food imports. This will cause harm to many.
Water is so important for our lives. everyone needs water for everything in during the day. So it's really sad because people are using water to sell and for commodities, and we need to rethink that because the problem is, I think, it's not the scarcity of water. The problem is the way that we use it. So we need to think, and the government should talk about it.
Water is basically one of the most important resources in the world. Every continent and country is willing to spend and invest billions and billions of dollars if they have all the means just to ensure that they will have safe and clean water in the future. Especially that there have been projections on how the water crisis will be even worse on the next 10 to 25 years. That is why as early as now, there should be enough allocation in the government budget, especially in the developing countries, in relation with this crisis.
It is clear that on a number of fronts, the water sector is already facing crises of national importance. If left unattended, they will have catastrophic consequences. However, even at this stage, all of them can and must be managed. Government is well aware of the problems and is taking steps to rectify them, especially the crisis within the local government. So we must help them succeed.
Save water, save lives.